Have you ever felt that some things come into your life at exactly the right moment? Like they were meant to find you when you needed them most? There's an ancient belief that certain knowledge doesn't reveal itself until you're truly ready to receive it. This is the story of such wisdom, a collection of teachings that seem to appear in people's lives precisely when they're prepared to understand them. You're not reading this by accident. Just like the ancient wisdom keepers believed, this message has found its way to you because something within you is awakening, asking deeper questions and seeking answers that go beyond everyday thinking. Throughout history, people have spoken of sacred teachings that reveal themselves only to those whose spirits are prepared. These aren't ordinary books found on any shelf. They're gateways to transformation that appear when your soul is ready for its next step. Think about it. Haven't you had moments when a random quote, a conversation with a stranger, or a paragraph in a book suddenly hits you with unexpected clarity? As if the universe was speaking directly to you? This is no coincidence. When your consciousness reaches a certain point, you naturally attract the wisdom you need. The most powerful knowledge doesn't force itself upon you. Instead, it waits patiently, appearing like a key that shows up exactly when the lock must be opened. Just as you wouldn't give advanced mathematics to someone who hasn't learned basic arithmetic, the deepest wisdom reveals itself when you're ready to truly understand it. Right now, you might be feeling that persistent whisper in your soul, that knowing that there must be more to life than what appears on the surface. This intuition is your internal compass, guiding you toward greater understanding. It's the signal that you're ready to receive deeper insights about your life and your place in the universe. The knowledge that finds you now will unfold naturally, like dawn breaking over the horizon, illuminating your understanding one ray at a time. Through stories of wisdom, through symbols that speak to your deepest self, through practices that awaken dormant abilities, you'll discover truths that have always existed within you. This isn't just about learning new information. It's about recognizing what your soul has always known, but your conscious mind hasn't yet realized. The ancient teachings speak of how we all carry wisdom inside us. We just need the right key to unlock it. When special knowledge finds you, it often creates a feeling of recognition rather than discovery. You might think, I've always known this somehow, but I couldn't put it into words until now. The sensation of remembering rather than learning is a sign that you're connecting with deeper truths. The universe communicates through signs and symbols meant specifically for you. Those moments when your heart beats faster at an unexpected sight, when a random thought refuses to leave your mind, when a chance encounter feels charged with meaning, these are all ways the universe speaks to you. The path ahead requires courage, because once you glimpse certain truths, you cannot unsee them. Your perception of reality will shift, and with it, your power to shape your life will awaken. This is your invitation to step into mystery, to claim your birthright as a creator of your reality. You might wonder why this wisdom finds some people earlier than others. The answer is simple. We each have our own perfect timing. Just as a flower blooms when conditions are right, not before and not after your awakening occurs, when the conditions within your consciousness have properly aligned. This doesn't mean sitting passively and waiting. To attune yourself to deeper wisdom, create a daily practice of sacred listening. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. For 5 minutes each day, sit in complete silence, close your eyes, and turn your attention inward, as if listening for a distant song. After each session, write down any feelings, images, or intuitive knowledge that arose during your silence. With time, you'll begin to recognize the unique way the universe speaks to you. You'll notice patterns and connections that were always there but previously invisible to you. The veil between ordinary reality and deeper truth will grow thinner. Remember that wisdom often arrives not as dramatic revelations, but as quiet realizations. Not as thunderbolts of knowledge, but as gentle awakenings. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. It communicates through the language of the soul, through inexplicable knowings, through persistent thoughts, through meaningful coincidences. These deeper truths can't be forced or rushed. They unfold according to their own revealing themselves through dreams, through moments of clarity, through unexpected teachers who cross your path. When you begin to notice these subtle messages from the universe, you're actually witnessing your own readiness to receive wisdom. The messages appear not because you search for them, but because you've become aligned with their frequency. As this special knowledge finds you, it brings both opportunity and responsibility. When you recognize truth, when you gain deeper understanding of life's workings, you naturally become a light for others, not through preaching or forcing your views, but through living the wisdom you've received. This journey from ignorance to wisdom isn't a single choice, but a continuous commitment to seeing with new eyes. The universe responds not just to your desires, but to your readiness to receive. When you choose to face truth, even when it challenges your comfortable beliefs, you signal to the universe your willingness to grow. So what happens now? As you continue on your path, remain open to wisdom in unexpected places. Trust your intuition when something resonates deeply with you. Practice stillness so you can hear the quiet voice of wisdom within. And remember, this knowledge found you for a reason. You are ready. Your journey of understanding begins now. Think back to a time when you felt a strange pull towards something you couldn't explain. Maybe you picked up a book that seemed to call to you from a shelf. Perhaps you turned on the radio at exactly the right moment to hear words that answered a question in your heart. Or possibly you met someone who said exactly what you needed to hear, though they had no way of knowing your situation. These moments aren't random. They are what ancient wisdom traditions call awakening calls, signals that your consciousness is ready to expand. Just like a plant naturally grows towards sunlight, your awareness naturally seeks greater understanding when the time is right. Throughout human history, teachers and wisdom keepers have understood this truth. They knew that forcing knowledge on someone who isn't ready is like trying to open a flower bud with your hands. It only damages the natural process. This is why the most profound teachings were often kept for those who showed signs of readiness. In ancient mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, and Asia, students would undergo years of preparation before receiving certain knowledge. This wasn't to create secrecy for its own sake, but because the teachers understood that wisdom without readiness could lead to misunderstanding or misuse. They knew that the soil must be prepared before the seed can properly grow. Today, we live in a world where information is everywhere, available to anyone at the click of a button. Yet true wisdom, the kind that transforms rather than simply informs, still follows the ancient law. It appears when you're ready, not simply when you're curious. Pay attention to what repeatedly catches your interest. Notice which ideas or concepts seem to find you again and again, appearing in different books, conversations, or media. These recurring themes aren't accidents, they're signposts pointing toward the wisdom your soul is ready to embrace. When you feel drawn to certain knowledge or practices without logical explanation, honor that pull. Your conscious mind might not understand why you're attracted to specific teachings, but your deeper self recognizes what it needs for the next stage of growth. This inner knowing operates beyond logic, speaking through feelings of resonance and recognition. Most people move through life caught in what ancient traditions call the veil of illusion. This isn't about seeing things that aren't there, but about not seeing what truly is. Like someone watching shadows on a wall without realizing there's a whole world casting those shadows, we often mistake surface appearances for complete reality. The greatest illusion is the belief that what we can see, touch, and measure with our physical senses is all that exists. But just as radio waves pass through the air undetected until a receiver is tuned to their frequency, deeper aspects of reality exist all around us, waiting for our awareness to evolve enough to perceive them. Another powerful illusion is the belief that we are separate from everything around us. Modern science has begun to confirm what ancient wisdom has always taught, that everything is connected in a vast web of relationship. The boundaries we perceive between ourselves and the world are more like permeable membranes than solid walls. Or, perhaps the most limiting illusion is the belief that we are powerless to change our lives or influence reality. Ancient wisdom traditions have always taught that consciousness itself is a creative force, that our thoughts, beliefs, and focused attention help shape our experience of reality. As you begin to see through these illusions, it may feel disorienting at first. Things you once took for granted might suddenly seem questionable. Certainties may dissolve into possibilities. This is natural and even necessary for new understanding to enter. Old concepts must sometimes make way. The process of seeing through illusion doesn't happen all at once. Like someone adjusting to new glasses, you may experience moments of clarity followed by periods of adjustment. Be patient with yourself during this process. Each moment of clear seeing builds upon the last, gradually transforming your perception of reality. As you become more aware of how illusions have shaped your thinking, you gain the freedom to choose new perspectives. Where once you might have acted from unconscious programming, you can now make choices based on deeper understanding. This is the beginning of true freedom, not the ability to get whatever you want, but the power to see clearly and choose wisely. There's a special moment in everyone's awakening journey, a moment when you get your first real glimpse beyond ordinary awareness. It might come during a walk in nature, in the middle of meditation, or even during an everyday activity when your mind briefly steps out of its usual patterns. In this moment, something shifts. The world doesn't change, but your way of experiencing it does. Colors might seem more vivid, connections more obvious. Or you might feel a deep sense of peace or belonging that goes beyond logical explanation. This first glimpse doesn't usually last long, but it leaves an unmistakable impression, a knowing that there's more to reality than you previously realized. This glimpse isn't the end of the journey, but its true beginning. It's like seeing a distant mountain peak that confirms you're on the right path, even though much of the journey still lies ahead. Once you've had this experience, something in you changes. You may return to ordinary awareness, but you'll carry the memory of what you glimpsed, and it will call to you. After this first glimpse, you might notice an increased sensitivity to the subtle aspects of life. Synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, may become more frequent. Dreams might become more vivid or symbolic. Your intuition may strengthen. These changes happen because your first glimpse opened a door that cannot be completely closed again. Not everyone describes this experience the same way. Some call it awakening, others enlightenment, still others cosmic consciousness or Christ consciousness or Buddha nature. The name matters less than the experience itself, that moment when you directly perceive the deeper reality behind everyday appearances. Following this glimpse, you might feel a mixture of excitement and confusion. Excitement because you've experienced something profound, confusion because it may not fit neatly into your previous understanding of reality. This too is natural and part of the growth process. The wisdom traditions teach that this first glimpse is both a gift and an invitation. A gift because it comes through grace, not through effort alone. An invitation because it calls you to deepen your understanding, to learn how to return to that state of awareness more frequently and eventually to integrate it into your everyday life. At some point on your journey, you'll face a crucial decision, the choice to truly see. This might sound simple, but it's actually one of the most significant choices you'll ever make. Choosing to see means being willing to recognize truth even when it challenges your comfortable beliefs or disrupts your familiar patterns. This choice rarely arrives as a dramatic crossroads. More often, it appears as a quiet invitation in ordinary moments. When you notice a limiting belief that no longer serves you. When you recognize a pattern of behavior that keeps you stuck. When you sense a deeper truth beneath social conventions or cultural conditioning. In these moments, you can choose to look away, to return to familiar illusions that may feel safer but keep you limited. Or you can choose to look directly, to acknowledge what you're seeing, even if it means letting go of old certainties or comfortable assumptions. This choice takes courage, because seeing clearly sometimes means facing uncomfortable truths about yourself, about relationships, about how the world works. It might mean recognizing ways you've contributed to your own difficulties or ways you've given away your power. It might mean acknowledging aspects of yourself you've tried to hide or deny. Yet this choice also brings freedom. When you choose to see clearly, you step out of unconscious patterns and into conscious awareness. You move from being shaped by unseen forces to actively participating in your own evolution. This shift from unconscious reaction to conscious response is at the heart of all genuine spiritual growth. Making this choice doesn't mean you'll never struggle again. In fact, you may face greater challenges as you become more aware. But you'll face them with growing clarity and resources you didn't have access to before. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The room's contents don't change, but your ability to navigate them certainly does. The choice to see is not made once and for all. It's a commitment you'll renew many times in many situations. Each time you choose awareness over avoidance, clarity over comfort, you strengthen your capacity for truth. And each time you choose awareness over avoidance, clarity over comfort, you strengthen your capacity for truth. And each time, the universe responds by revealing more of what was previously hidden from view. As you continue on this journey, you'll inevitably encounter what wisdom traditions call the path of shadows, those aspects of yourself and reality that have been hidden from your conscious awareness. Just as physical light casts shadows, the light of consciousness reveals the shadow elements we've kept from view. These shadows aren't evil or wrong. They're simply the parts of ourselves we haven't been able or willing to face. They might include fears we've pushed aside, desires we've deemed unacceptable, anger we've suppressed, or potential we've been afraid to acknowledge. Working with these shadows is essential for genuine growth. When you first encounter your shadows, you might feel uncomfortable or even frightened. This is natural. We hide these aspects of ourselves for a reason, usually because at some point we learned that they weren't safe or acceptable. But avoiding shadows doesn't eliminate them. It only gives them power to influence you unconsciously. The journey through shadows isn't about eliminating these aspects of yourself, but about bringing them into conscious relationship. When you acknowledge your fears rather than being controlled by them, when you recognize your anger without acting it out destructively, when you honor your desires without being ruled by them, you transform these energies from obstacles into resources. This shadow work isn't a detour from the spiritual path, it is the path. Many spiritual traditions acknowledge this truth in their own ways. Christian mystics speak of the dark night of the soul. Buddhist teachings address the confrontation with Mara, representing the forces of fear and desire. Jungian psychology recognizes the necessity of integrating the shadow for psychological wholeness. As you walk this path of shadows, remember that what you're experiencing is not punishment, but purification. Like gold being refined in fire, your consciousness is being cleared of distortions and limitations. This process makes space for greater light, greater awareness, greater capacity to embody the wisdom you're receiving. Sometimes the path of shadows will lead you through difficult emotions or memories. Be gentle with yourself during these times. Seek support if you need it. Remember that moving through shadow doesn't mean dwelling there indefinitely. It means acknowledging what has been hidden so it can be integrated and transformed. The universe speaks to us constantly through a language of signs, symbols, and synchronicities. This isn't a human language with fixed meanings, but a living, dynamic communication uniquely tailored to each person's understanding. Learning to read this secret language is like developing a new sense. Suddenly you perceive messages and meaning, where before you saw only random events. Ancient cultures understood this symbolic language much better than our modern world does. They read meanings in the flight patterns of birds, in weather changes, in dreams, and in natural phenomena. While some of their specific interpretations might seem superstitious to us now, the fundamental principle remains valid. The universe communicates through patterns for those who learn to recognize them. Synchronicities. Meaningful coincidences that seem too perfectly timed to be random are one of the most common forms this language takes. When you're thinking about a specific question and suddenly come across exactly the information you need, when a song with lyrics perfectly matching your situation plays unexpectedly, when you keep encountering the same symbol or number sequence, these are all forms of synchronicity. Dreams offer another channel for this secret language. Throughout history, people have recognized dreams as sources of guidance, warning, healing, and inspiration. Your dreams speak in personal symbols drawn from your experiences, but often arranged in patterns that carry messages from deeper aspects of consciousness. Nature itself communicates through this symbolic language. The animals you encounter, the weather patterns that coincide with significant events, even the plants that appear in your environment can all carry messages if you're attuned to their significance. Indigenous traditions worldwide have preserved this understanding of nature as a living text of wisdom. To become fluent in this language, begin by cultivating awareness and curiosity. Notice patterns without immediately dismissing them as coincidence. Pay attention to recurring symbols, numbers, or themes in your experience. Keep a journal of dreams, synchronicities, and intuitive impressions to help you recognize patterns over time. As you develop this awareness, you'll begin to notice that these signs often appear most strongly at significant turning points in your life, or when you're seeking guidance about important decisions. The universe seems to speak more clearly when you're actively listening and when the message matters most to your growth. Remember that this language is both universal and deeply personal. While some symbols carry collective meanings shared across cultures, the specific way they speak to you will be unique to your life experience and consciousness. Trust your intuitive understanding of what these signs mean for you, even if their meaning wouldn't be obvious to someone else. One of the most powerful tools for spiritual growth is the practice of reflection learning to see how the outer world mirrors your inner state. Every person, situation, and challenge you encounter reflects aspects of your consciousness, offering opportunities for deeper self-understanding and transformation. This mirroring happens in several ways. Sometimes you encounter in others the very qualities you're developing within yourself. Sometimes you meet people who embody traits you've rejected or denied in your own nature. And sometimes external circumstances reflect your inner beliefs and expectations with startling precision. Learning to read these reflections requires honesty and willingness to look beyond surface appearances. When someone triggers strong emotions in you, whether positive or negative, ask yourself what they might be reflecting back to you. The qualities you admire in others are usually qualities you possess or are developing. The traits that irritate you most often point to aspects of yourself you haven't fully acknowledged or integrated. Circumstances, too, can serve as mirrors. Recurring patterns in your relationships, work, or finances often reflect repetitive thought patterns or deep-seated beliefs. When you notice these external patterns, look for the corresponding internal patterns that might be creating them. This isn't about blaming yourself for difficulties, but about recognizing your power to create change from within. Even physical spaces can mirror inner states. The organization of your home, the quality of environments you're drawn to, the natural settings that bring you peace all reflect aspects of your consciousness. By becoming aware of these reflections, you gain insights that might otherwise remain hidden. The practice of seeing these mirrors requires discernment. Not everything is a direct reflection of your personal consciousness. We live in a complex world with many factors at play, but developing the habit of asking, "What might this be reflecting back to me?" opens doors to profound self-knowledge and growth. As you work with this principle of reflection, approach it with compassion rather than judgment. When you see challenging aspects of yourself mirrored in your experience, remember that awareness is the first step toward transformation. Each recognition becomes an opportunity to heal, integrate, and evolve rather than a reason for self-criticism. Dreams have been honored as sources of wisdom in virtually every spiritual tradition throughout history. They offer a direct communication channel from deeper levels of consciousness, speaking through symbols, emotions, and narratives that bypass the logical mind and connect directly with your intuitive understanding. While ordinary dreams process daily experiences and emotions, certain dreams stand apart. These awakening dreams carry a different quality, a vivid realness, a sense of significance, a clarity that remains with you long after waking. These dreams often arrive at important turning points in your spiritual journey, offering guidance, healing, or revelations about your path. These special dreams might present themselves as meetings with teachers or guides who offer specific wisdom. They might take you to places that feel more real than physical reality, temples, gardens, or cosmic landscapes where you receive direct transmission of knowledge. Or they might show you symbolic scenarios that illuminate your current life situation from a higher perspective. Learning to work with these dreams begins with giving them proper attention. Keep a dream journal beside your bed and record these experiences immediately upon waking, before they fade from memory. Include every detail you can remember: symbols, colors, feelings, words spoken, and your emotional responses. Don't worry about interpreting immediately. First, capture the experience as completely as possible. As you review these dreams, look for elements that seem particularly charged with meaning or emotion. Notice recurring symbols or themes across multiple dreams. Pay attention to how these dreams make you feel. The emotional tone often carries as much meaning as the content itself. Unlike ordinary dreams, awakening dreams frequently contain guidance that applies directly to your waking life. This guidance rarely comes as straightforward instructions, but rather as symbolic information that your intuition must decode. Trust your own sense of what these dreams mean for you, even if their significance isn't immediately obvious to others. Some spiritual traditions teach specific practices for cultivating and working with these significant dreams. Techniques like setting a clear intention before sleep, creating sacred sleep space, or practicing meditation before bed can help create favorable conditions for awakening dreams. Experiment with these approaches to discover what works best for you. Remember that dream wisdom unfolds over time. An awakening dream might not reveal its full significance immediately. Sometimes the meaning becomes clear only when you encounter a situation it prepared you for, or when additional dreams build upon its message. Be patient with this unfolding process, trusting that understanding will come when you're ready to receive it. As you move deeper into this journey of awakening, you'll discover a wellspring of strength within yourself that you may never have recognized before. This isn't the forceful strength of willpower or determination, though these have their place. It's a deeper, more resilient strength that flows from alignment with your authentic nature and connection to something greater than yourself. This inner strength develops gradually, often through challenges that require you to draw on resources you didn't know you possessed. Each time you face uncertainty with courage, each time you choose truth over comfort, each time you act from deeper values rather than surface desires, you strengthen this inner core. Unlike physical strength, which diminishes when not used, this inner strength grows through both action and surrender. It develops as you learn when to assert yourself and when to yield, when to persist and when to let go. It comes from recognizing that true power lies not in controlling external circumstances, but in mastering your responses to them. Ancient wisdom. Traditions describe this strength in various ways. Some call it spiritual backbone, others the warrior's heart, still others soul force. Whatever name it takes, this quality combines steadfastness with flexibility, courage with compassion, clarity with openness, creating a centered presence that remains stable even in challenging circumstances. This strength becomes particularly important when you encounter resistance, both external and internal, to your awakening process. Others might not understand the changes you're experiencing. Parts of yourself might resist letting go of familiar patterns. Cultural forces might pressure you to conform rather than transform. Inner strength allows you to hold your course through these pressures without becoming rigid or defensive. Cultivating this strength involves practices that connect you to your deeper values and authentic nature. Regular reflection on what matters most to you, meditation practices that develop centered awareness, conscious choices that align with your highest understanding, all contribute to building this inner core. Physical practices can support this development as well. Many wisdom traditions incorporate movement disciplines from yoga to tai chi to sacred dance that strengthen the body's ability to channel and express spiritual energy. Working with breath, posture, and conscious movement creates a physical foundation for inner strength to manifest. As this strength develops, you'll find yourself less easily shaken by external events or others' opinions. You'll recover more quickly from setbacks. You'll make choices based on deeper wisdom rather than immediate comfort or social approval. This doesn't mean you'll never struggle, but your struggles will take place within a larger context of steady, centered presence. One of the greatest paradoxes on the spiritual path is that true strength often comes through surrender. This doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means recognizing when effort alone cannot carry you forward and allowing a greater wisdom to guide your way. Ancient wisdom traditions speak of this surrender using many metaphors floating in a river rather than swimming against the current. Being clay in the potter's hands, becoming an instrument through which divine music can play. These images point to a profound truth. Some forms of growth happen not through striving, but through allowing. This surrender begins with recognizing the limits of personal will and control. Despite our best planning and efforts, life often unfolds in unexpected ways. When you fight against these unexpected turns, you create suffering for yourself. When you learn to flow with them while maintaining your core values and intentions, you discover a more effortless way of moving through life. Surrender doesn't mean abandoning discernment or responsibility. It means bringing your best wisdom to each situation while remaining open to guidance that might come from beyond your personal perspective. It means taking appropriate action while releasing attachment to specific outcomes. It means trusting that even difficult experiences may serve your growth in ways you cannot currently see. This practice becomes especially important during major life transitions or spiritual breakthroughs. At these thresholds, your existing maps no longer apply. Your familiar strategies may not work. These are the times to open to a wisdom greater than your own, to listen more deeply, to follow subtle guidance rather than pushing forward based solely on past experience. Owenori, learning the art of surrender takes practice and discernment. Not every impulse or external pressure deserves your yielding. The key lies in distinguishing between surrender to higher wisdom and capitulation to fear, social pressure, or path of least resistance. True surrender feels like opening and expanding, not like contracting or diminishing yourself. As you develop this capacity for wise surrender, you'll notice a growing sense of ease and flow in your life. Situations that once would have triggered struggle now become opportunities for grace. Problems that seemed insurmountable when approached through willpower alone find unexpected resolutions when you open to broader perspectives and possibilities. The practice of surrender ultimately reveals perhaps the deepest paradox of spiritual growth, that by letting go of the need to control your journey, you actually gain greater participation in creating it. By surrendering the limitations of your personal perspective, you gain access to more expansive wisdom. By releasing your grip on how things should be, you open to how they might become in ways beyond your current imagination. Your journey of understanding begins now. Each step reveals new insights. Each challenge brings opportunities for growth, and each moment offers chances to apply the wisdom that has found you when you needed it most.